A very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the object and object relational database. So in the continuation of the object oriented database management system, today's topic is about the overview of different object database concepts. Then we will discuss different object relational features, object database extension to the SQL, then what is ODMG object and what is ODL. In the last class we have discussed about ODL and OPL, OQL. Okay, so today we will discuss different conceptual design about the object database, different query languages, and overview of C++ language that can be used to bind in the ODMG standard. So I am going to start with the object and object relational database. So object databases are also known as ODB in short. So it's a kind of object data management system, ODMS. So it is the need of more complex applications. Okay, when we are dealing with complex data sets, so we need to have object database management system. It can be used as the structure of complex objects, and it can be operated, that can be applied to these objects. So the basic difference between normal data set and object data set is that in you have heard that in relational database management system we use a table, and all the information are stored in the form of numbers, in the form of text, in the form of strings. That is a simplest form of database. But in some cases, if you want to deal with complex objects, like if you are dealing with videos, if we are dealing with different audio files, different images, different photographs, so the in this case it is very hard to find out any relationship. If you are having two videos, so it is very hard to find out the relationship. If we are having different audio files, if we are having different images, so these are some kind of complex objects, complex data sets. So for analyzing or for managing such complex object, we use object data management system. Okay, so the introduction to the object-oriented concept and features is that the object-oriented database programming languages is started in two levels, that is state and behavioral. State level having some values of that object, and behavior level we are having some operations, some methods. Okay, it can hold different values that define the internal state of an object, and it can have different signature or interface, and it can be implemented for different applications. Okay, so object oriented OO, in short we call it as a OO, object oriented. So in this we are having two components. First we need to know the value of that object, the state of that object, and then we will apply different operations, we will apply different processes, different methodology to organize the data set. Okay, so inheritance is also a property of object database. It permits the specification of new type or class that inherit much of their structure. Inheritance means internal specification. If someone have given you a video, if someone given you a image, so by observing that image or by viewing that video, you can specify some new data type, you can specify some new classes that inherit much of their structure or operations from previously defined data set. Okay, so in a relational database the structure is already defined, but in object oriented database you can define new structure, you can define new types of data sets on the basis of their inheritance properties. Inheritance means the genuine or internal property. Suppose if you are observing a video, depending on the content in the video, you can define some new class. If the video is having some if the video is having some information about the uh, flyover, if the video is having some information about the roads, so depending on that information you can define, you can specify new type or new classes. Then operator overloading, it's ability to be applied to different types of object. Okay, depending on the types of object in your data, you can apply different operators, and the operation name may refer to several distinct implications. It's not like that you need to apply only one operator. You can use different operators, you can use you can apply different operators depending on different types of objects, because in a video or in a photograph, in an image, there may be different kinds of objects. So depending on different kinds of object, you may have different operators. Like if you are observing a photograph, so in a photograph there may be different objects. There may be some tree, there may be some vehicles, there may be some human, there may be some other objects in the figure, in the photo. So depending on different types of objects, you can apply different operators. That is a important benefit of using object oriented database. Okay. Unique identity means you need to identify the objects in your database. You need to identify the types of object in your database, and you can apply or you can assign unique identity. That is object ID, OID. Okay, that is object identity that will be unique to each and every object. If you are having different objects in a photograph, like in a photograph, if you are having tree, if you are having road, if you are having some houses, buildings, so you need to assign unique identity to each and every object in your database or in your photograph. Okay, most object oriented database systems allow for the representation of both objects and the literals of the values. Okay, so it based on both the object name and their values, their properties. Okay, so the complex type structure for objects and literals. Literals means values. When we are going to talk about object and their values, so the structure of arbitrary complexity, it contains all the necessary information that describes the object or literals. And the second step in this complex type data structure is nesting type constructor. It can be used to construct complex type from other type. And most basic constructor are atom, struct, or collection. Okay, so when we are going to describe or when we are going to discuss some object, so we need to first construct the type of that object. That will be based on the atom, that will be based on the struct or tuple, and that will be having some collection, some data set that may be collected from that table or that object. Okay, now moving to the next slide. The collection type may be set, bag, list, array, dictionary. Okay, so when we are going to work on some object, when we are going to work on some data that is having some video, some audio, some images, so we need to collect the object in that database. We need to collect different types of objects that will be based on the set, that bag, list, array, and dictionary. Object definition languages. So for defining the object or for identifying the objects, we use object definition language, ODL. This is used to define the object type for a particular database application. Okay, like in SQL, we are having structured query. In a structured query language, we are having data manipulation or data definition languages. In the same way, in object oriented database, we are having object definition language, that is ODL. Okay, that is used to define the object type. Okay, so this is a simple example showing the database and how it can be defined, like how we can specify the object type, that is employee, date, and department. So employee, date, department, these are kind of objects. Okay, now we are going to define employee. So employee may have a name, it may have some last name, it may have some middle name, it may have some first name. Okay, then it may have some birth date, address, sex, salary, supervisor, department. Okay, so here employee is an object, and under this object we need to define different types of properties of that employee, that will be based on their first name, last name, middle name, date of birth, address, sex, and so on. Okay, now second type of object is date. So in which year or in which date he has joined, and in which department he is working, the department name, the location, the employee ID, the project. Okay, so the main it is important to note here the employee, date, and department. When we talk about relational database management, so employee can be considered as a Relational data, data that is having some values in the form of text, numbers. Here also you are having some text, some string, some number, but we consider employee as a object, not as a relational data. It's a kind of object that will have different kinds of types, that may have full first name, middle name, last name, and other information about that object. Okay. Encapsulation of the operations and the persistence of the object. Encapsulation means it's related to the abstract data types and information that is hiding in programming languages. It can be used to define the behavior of a data type that is based on the operation that can be externally applied, and it can have the external users only aware of the interface of the operations, and it can divide the structure of the object into visible and hidden attributes. So encapsulation means if we are going to define a data type, if we are going to identify, or if we are going to define different objects, so how that object is behaving and what type of object is there, that can be done by the encapsulation. Encapsulation is used to define different objects on the basis of their behavior, on the basis of their properties. It can be used to divide the structure of an object into visible and hidden attributes. Okay, so encapsulation can be done by object constructor, destructor, modifier, or retrieve. Under object constructor, we are going to use it as a creating a new object. Destructor is used to destroy or delete an object. Okay, modifier is used to modify the value of different attributes of an object. Okay, if we are having a object, and under that object we are having different values, so you can modify any value, or you can delete any value, or you can create a new object on the basis of the requirement. A retrieve function is used to get the information about the object, and it don't notation dot notation is used to apply the operation to the object. Okay, so we are having three operations. First, we can construct a object that will be used to create new object. Then we can destroy or delete an object, and we can modify the object, we can modify the data, we can modify the value of a data, and having some modification in the attributes of an object, and then we can retrieve the information about the object. Persistence of objects. In some cases, the objects are persistence, means we cannot change or we cannot modify the object. In case of persistence of the objects, we can the object, this is known as transient object. Okay, if the objects cannot be changed, if the objects cannot be modified, cannot be deleted, so such kind of objects are known as transient objects. And it can exist in executing program, and it can disappear once program terminates. Okay, persistent objects can be stored in the database and persist after the program termination. It may have naming mechanism and the reachability of that object. Type of hierarchies and inheritance. Inheritance is the definition of new types that is based on the predefined type, and the type means the type, data type, and the list of values having some function. If when we talk about any data type, if we talk about any type of inheritance property, it can be used to define the new type that is based on other predefined types. So types of hierarchy and inheritance. It is having a subtype that is will be useful when creating a new type that is similar but not identical to an already defined type. So it can be shown here as an example, like when we talk about the data about object. So object subtype may have the salary, the amount of salary of that employee, the hiring date, and the seniority. And when we talk about student subtype, under student subtype we can have the under we can have the two information, that is major subjects and GPA. Okay, extent. Extent is used to store the collection of the persistent objects for each type of the subtype, and it can be used as a subset of the extent of the class object. So persistent collection means we are going to store permanently in the database. Persistent means we cannot change it, so it will be stored permanently in our database. And transient collection exists temporarily, and it can be disappeared after the execution of the program. Okay, so persistent collection and transient collection. Persistent collection will be the collection of the databases which will be stored permanently in the database, and transient collection exists temporarily. It existed for a period of time that will be disappeared, that will be not available after the execution of the program. Polymorphic of the operations, it is also known as the operator overloading. And during this operation, that is polymorphic operation, a user can have the operator name or symbols that can be used to bound or two or more different applications. It will be depending on the type of objects to which operator is applied. Multiple inheritance is a kind of subtype inherited functions, that is maybe any attribute or method for the more than one supertype. Okay, moving to the next slide. Selective inheritance means we are having the subtype inheritance that will only some of the functions of the supertype. Okay, so in selective inheritance, we are not going to use entire functions, but only we are using some of the functions that are available in the supertype. So these are some important properties. These are some important concepts in object-oriented database. Okay, summary of object database concepts, like here we have discussed different object identity, different types of constructor, encapsulation, then in hierarchies and inheritance, and polymorphism and operator overloading. Now moving to the next slide. So now we are going to discuss about the object database extension to the SQL. It is having different types of constructors that will be used to specify the complex objects, and we will have different mechanism for specifying the objects, and encapsulation of the operations can be done by the user defined types, that is UDT. And inheritance mechanism can be used to provide the information using keyword under. So user defined type at complex structure of the objects. UDT syntax. For performing the user defined type, we can have such kind of syntax which is written here. Create type, then we will type the name as component, then declaration. A row type, we will define the number of row where directly it can be created as a structured attribute using the keyword row, and it will be written like shown here. Okay, this is the way we can use UDT syntax for defining user defined types. Okay, user defined types and complex structures for the objects can also be used to define the array type, that will be reference element using the bracket. And cardinality function is it can be used in the user defined types or the structure of the object, that can return the current number of the elements in an array. This is another example of user defined type and complexities. Object identifiers using reference types. Reference types means it will be used to create unique system that will be generated the object identifier. The example is written here. And instantable means if we are going to create a table that is based on the UDT, so it will be known as instantable, that will be used to specify the UDT at an instant, and that can cause one or more tables to be created. Encapsulation of the operations, it can have the user defined types that may be used to specify different methods, different operators in addition to the attributes. For this process, for this operation, like encapsulation of the operations, we need to have the syntax in the format which is written here. Create type, the type name, the list of the components, attributes and their types, and then at the last we can have the declaration of the functions or any kind of methods that can be used for any kind of operation. The constructor function, for constructing a function, we use the syntax type underscore t bracket. It will return a new object of that type. And for observing a function, that is a implicitly created for each attribute a, so we can write it as a bracket x or x dot a, that will be returned to the attribute of a. And user defined functions can internally or externally performed using SQL, that will have some external functions that will be written in a host language. So how to specify inheritance and overloading of the functions? For specifying inheritance, we need to follow these rules. First rule is that all attributes inherited, order of the supertypes in under clause that will be used to determine the inheritance hierarchy, the instance of a subtype that can be used in every context in which a supertype instance can be used. Subtype can be redefined any function that will be defined in supertype and not final, that is having subtypes are allowed to be defined. So these are some rules that can be used, that can be taken into consideration while specifying any inheritance and the overloading of functions. And when a function is called, the best match selected based on type of all arguments, and for dynamic linking, the run type or runtime type of the parameters is considered. Now moving to the next slide, how to specify the relationship between the data sets. So the for specifying the relationship, we should have some component attribute for one tuple that may be reference to a tuple of another table, that will be used to specify using some keyword ref. So for specifying the relationship, we we should use a keyword that is ref, and the keyword scope is used to specify the name of the table whose tuple is referenced like fk, and not dot notation is used to build the path expression. Okay, so this is the way we can specify the relationship via some reference information, via some reference. The ODMG object model and the object definition language ODL. ODMG object model is a kind of data model for object definition languages, that is ODL, and object query language, that is OQL. Objects and the literals, the basic building blocks of the object model. These objects and literals are the basic building blocks of the object model, and it is having different of aspects like identifier, name, lifetime, structure, and creation. Literal means it should have some value that does not have an object identifier. So this is all about the defining the object model and the object definition languages, that is ODL. Okay, so the ODMG object model and the ODL having some behavior that will be some kind of operations. It will have some states that will be referred as a properties interface that will be specifies only the behavior of an object type, and typically the non-instanceable. The class can be specified in both states and behavior of an object type, that is instantable. Okay, so behavior in inheritance is also known as ISA, or inheritance in interface inheritance, that is specified by the column. So when we are going to describe the inheritance properties, when we are going to define the inheritance in the object model, so we need to specify it by some colon notation, and it can be used as a keyword. The keyword extents can be used to specify such kind of inheritance. This inherited both the state and the behavior strictly among all the classes, and multiple inheritance via extents not permitted. So this is all about the inheritance in the object model of the ODMG. Okay, for building the interface or the class, the built-in interface and class in the object model having some collection objects that will be inherit the basic collection interface, that is I is equal to o dot create interactor, that will be used to create an iterator object for the collection. The collection objects further specialized into set, list, bag, array, and dictionary. So the how we are going to collect the object, And what are the process for the collection of objects under specialization that will be based on the set, list, bag, array, and dictionary. This is the built-in interface and the classes in the object model. So this is the figure showing how the built-in interface and classes can be done in the object model. So we are having a object having some collection may be done by set, list, bag, and array dictionary options. Okay, then we can also have the option to define the date for that object, and we can have the time interval and time stamp for defining that object. So this is the figure showing the inheritance hierarchy for the built-in interfaces of the object model. So atomic, or you can say the user defined objects, it can be used to specify the user defined objects by you having some keyword, that is class, and that class can be described, can be specified on the basis of their attribute that will include the property, the description of the aspect of an object, the relationship. Two objects in the database are related, that will have some keywords, that is having single conceptual relationship in the inverse directions, and also it is having the operation signature that will have some name, the argument type, and the return value. So the atomic objects means we are going to use the objects based on the user defined function that will have some attribute, that should have some relationship, and some operation signatures. Okay, now what is extent keys and factory object? Extent contains all the persistent object of the class. Key means one or more properties whose values are unique for each object in the extent. And factory object can be used to generate or create individual objects via its operations. Okay, so extent key and factory objects are very important for defining the object in object oriented database. And extent contains all the persistent objects. Key will be used to define one or more properties whose values are unique, and factory object is used to generate or create individual objects via its operations. So this is the way we can use extent keys and factory objects. The object definition languages, ODL. So the object definition languages can be used to support the semantic construction of the ODMG objects, and it is independent of any particular programming languages. It is not dependent on any particular programming languages, and it can be used to support the semantic constructors of the ODMG object models. So this is the figure showing the example of the ODL schema for the university database. It is started from the class Pearson, then class faculty, and class grade. Under Pearson, we will have some attributes that will have some structure name, first name, middle name, last name, the number, street, apartment name, city. Then second object is a faculty. The faculty extends the Pearson. It will have some name, it will have some attribute in the form of rank, the salary, office, phone number, work in inverse department has faculty. And grade is having some grades in A, B, C, D, E, F, I, and P. Okay, so moving to the next slide, object database conceptual design. So it is important to know the difference between the conceptual design of the object database and relational database, handling of the relationship and inheritance. So the difference between conceptual designing of the object-oriented database and relational database is the ability of handling the relationship and inheritance. So on the basis of this, we can have the philosophical difference between the relational model and object model of the data in terms of behavioral specification. Mapping an EER schema to be an ODB schema. So under this, we need to create ODL class for each EER entity type, and we need to add some relationship that will have some properties for each binary relationship, that will include the appropriate operations for each class, and ODL class that corresponds to a subclass in the EER schema that will inherit the type and the methods of its superclass in ODL schema. So it will have some big entity type that will be mapped same as regular entity type. The categories can also be the categories also need to define that will have some union type that will be difficult to map to ODL, and n array relationship with a degree that is n greater than 2. It will be used to map into a separate class with appropriate references to each participating class. Now moving to the next slide. So the object query language OQL. So the OQL or the query language is proposed for the ODMG object model. The simplest OQL queries are having some database entry points and the iterator behaviorals or iterator variables that will have some syntax. It will use to select from where structure. Then entry point is having some name, the persistent objects, iterator of a variable. It will be used to define whenever a collection is referenced in an OQL query. Okay, so in object query language, we need to define a syntax. We need to have some entry point. Then we need to have some iterator variables that will be used to define whenever a collection is referenced in an OQL query. So query results and path expressions. So after performing a query or after query analysis, the results what will get is a type of is any type of data that can be expressed in ODMG object model. OQL orthogonal with respect to specifying the path expressions that will have some attributes, relationships, and operation names that can be used interchangeably within the path expressions. Okay, moving to the next slide. There are several other features of the object query languages. First one is named query. This will be used to specify the identifier of named query, and the OQL query will return the collection as its result. And in that case, if a user requires that a query only returns a single element, that we need to use element operator. And aggregate operator can also be an important feature of OQL, and there will be the membership and quantification over a collection. So these are some important features of object query languages. Special operators for order collections. If we are going to deal with ordered collections, so we need to apply special operators that will be grouped by the clause in the OQL. Okay, it will be similar to the corresponding clause in SQL that will provide the explicit reference to the collection of the objects within the each group of the partition. And it is having some clause. It is having some clause that will be used to filter the partitioned set. So the overview of the C++ language that will be used as a binding tool in a ODMG standard. So the C++ language can be specified how ODL constructs are mapped to the C++ constructs and how it can be used as a prefix. So for binding the C++ language, we need to use the prefix that is d_, for class declarations that deal with database concepts, and it will have different templates. It will have different template classes that will be specified in the library binding, and it will have overloads operation new, so that it can be used to create either persistent or transient objects. So this C++ language can work for both persistent object and transient object, and that can be used to create any of them. And for that we need to specify in the binding library so that we can use any of the object, either persistent or transient. So the summary of today's lecture is that we have today overviewed the concepts that can be used, that can be utilized in the object database. The object identity and the identifiers is described, encapsulation process, different kinds of inheritance, complex structures of the objects through the nesting of the type constructors, and how objects are made persistent. Description of the ODMG objects model and object query languages OQL. Overview of the C++ language binding is described in today's lecture. So today's lecture is about the concepts about the object database and how we can use different object query languages for the description of ODMG object model, and how we can use C++ language for binding the OQL or ODL with the programming languages. Thank you very much for today's class, and we will meet again for the next class in the next lecture. Thank you very much.